Mike Radich here, and I'm now joined on the phone by Titan FC heavyweight Walt Harris. Walt, how are you?
Doing well, man. I'm doing well. How about you?
I'm doing good. Walt, you recently picked up a win back on May 16th at Titan FC 28. You knocked out DJ Linderman in the first round. How pleased were you with your performance in the fight?
I was happy, man. It was good to come back and get a win after two tough losses. First time I lost back-to-back in my whole career, so getting that win was important for me, and it felt good to do it.
Mm-hmm. Now, did the fight go as you had expected it to? Because DJ Linderman, a very tough guy, and throughout his career, if you look back at his resume, a majority of his best work has taken place at heavyweight. So, were you expecting to finish him in the fashion you did so quickly in the first round?
Honestly, that's always my plan, to finish the fight as quick as possible. I didn't go in exactly looking for the knockout. I was prepared to go 3 rounds, but I was excited to get the win the way I did. To make a statement and show everybody I'm still here.
Mm-hmm. Now, DJ Linderman, when he fights at heavyweight, yes, he carries around a little bit extra because he's basically a blown-up 205er. He's a natural 205er. That's the weight class he's supposed to be in, but he fights a lot at heavyweight. But when he fights at heavyweight, the version that we saw when he fought you, we don't really see that. He was carrying a lot more extra weight, and his body wasn't really what we're used to seeing him. When he fights at 205, he's not yoked up, he's not ripped up, he doesn't have six-pack abs, but we never seen him in this kind of physical shape. When you saw him at the weigh-in and when you saw him on fight night, what were your thoughts about his appearance, and did that change anything you thought about the fight? Did you go in the fight saying, you know what, I'm gonna put it on this guy real early and tire him out and wear him out and then go for the kill? Did it change anything seeing his physique going into the fight?
It did a little, and it kind of threw me off because I honestly expected to be a lot heavier than he did, but he weighed in heavier than me. Mm-hmm. So I was a little shocked by that. But him coming up to heavyweight, I expected him to be a little bit bigger, and I've seen this last couple fights, whatever. I knew he wasn't going to be, like you said, yoked up. So, I guess it did kind of throw me off that he weighed in a little bit heavier than me, but it didn't factor into the game plan. The game plan was the same either way. Go in and be methodical, be patient, and let the fight come to me.
Mm-hmm. I'm just curious, what do you think his game plan was going into the fight against you?
It's pretty much what everybody's game plan is to try to take me down, try to tire me out, and test my cardio. And I knew that's what his game plan was going to be. That's why I prepared for it. Even though the fight was kind of on short notice for me, I put a lot of work in, a lot of roll work, a lot of cardio work to make sure that I was comfortable going into the fight with it going 3 rounds. Because I knew that's what his game plan would be, is to try to get to my gas tank.
Mm-hmm. Now, I'm just curious, how did this fight all come together? Because originally, he was supposed to fight Dave Herman in April, and then the Titan card changed up a little, and then he was linked to a fight with you, but the fight wasn't on this card. They said at a later date, DJ Linderman and Walt Harris are going to fight, but then the card got pushed back to May 16th, and then you're fighting DJ Linderman on that card. So how exactly did this fight all come together, and what was the timeline from when Titan said, hey, we want you to fight for us, till they offered you Linderman?
It was pretty short. I honestly, when I got called about Titan, I think it was April, I want to say. Mm-hmm. May have been a little, because I didn't hear that I was cut from the UFC, I think, until April. Mm-hmm. And so I got the call, and they said that we're going to set up a fight. When will you be ready? And I said, well, give me till July, because I had taken a month off and spent time with my kids and stuff like that. So I was expecting to fight in July, and I was heading back down to Coconut Creek to start training camp. And I saw a tweet that said I was fighting on the 16th of May, and I was just like, all right, whatever, just go down and get ready, I'm up for whatever, man. I'll fight anybody, anytime. It's never, a question of my ability to fight. It's just I like to be prepared and go in there and give people the best product that they, give them what they want, Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So it was kind of quick, but it is what it is, man. It's business. Mm-hmm. Sometimes you gotta do it, and that's your job. So. Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm just curious, after the fight, you started yelling, "I'm back, I'm back." You were running around the cage yelling, "I'm back." I'm just curious, why were you yelling that? Was it because, you're back in the winner's circle, you suffered 2 losses in a row, like you said earlier, back-to-back losses?
It was that, and my mindset for this fight was the same way my mindset has been my whole career before I went to the UFC. I put a lot of pressure on myself when I signed with the UFC. A lot of self-pressure. It wasn't any other fight. It wasn't like any other. It was the same, thing I've been doing my whole career, going in there and fighting. But I put a lot of extra pressure on myself. I was overthinking things, and going into this fight, I just told myself, look, just relax, just go in there and have fun and do what you love to do, and that's what I did, and the result was the same. I got the knockout, and I did it in a dramatic fashion. So when I was saying I was back, I meant mentally, I meant physically, I meant everything, man. I'm back, I'm back to myself, because I don't think I showed my true potential in the UFC. As quick as it came, it went. I didn't give a full glimpse of my full potential. So I feel like I'm on the path to doing that now.
Mm-hmm. So going into the fight, you had some doubts about your abilities? Or was there, ever something where you questioned yourself?
No, it wasn't about my abilities. It's about the fact that it's the UFC. And you put, you put the UFC on a little, it's your dream. You've been chasing, so you put it on a higher pedestal than normal things. Everything's is magnified. Everything's a little more intense on that level. But at the same time, it's still just a fight. It just happens to be inside the UFC octagon. And it took for me to get outside of the fights and realize that, and talk to people, because I went through a little bit of, I was down about it, like I was my dream, to go in there and succeed and to make a name for myself. And to come up short, it upset me. And I did a lot of thinking, and I was like, man, dude, you really put a lot of pressure on yourself going into these fights for no reason. Like, it's just a fight. Just go fight. It's just in the UFC. So once I get, my goal is to get back there, and when I do get back there, my whole approach will be, totally different.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Now, your first fight against Jared Rosholt, in your first UFC fight against Jared Rosholt was November of 2013. Then your second fight was earlier this year, January of 2014. A very short window your UFC career was. You were there for 2 fights, and it was 2-3 months you were inside the octagon, and then you were back out on the regional circuit. So it went by really fast, in real time. But what did it feel like, in your mind, through your eyes? Was it really just here in a blink of an eye?
Yeah, it was a blink of an eye. Like, it literally came, it was like this. Like, before I signed, I honestly didn't know where I was fighting. I had a fight fall through a couple months before I signed, so I was literally in limbo, and I was just, telling myself, okay, you got to get back down to Florida and train. So that was my next move, was to get back down there and prepare to another fight. And hope somebody give me a call, and then all of a sudden my manager calls and says, hey, you're fighting the UFC, and I'm like, what? He's like, in 2 months, so you need to get back down here. And that's when I started preparing for Jared Rosholt. So it was just everything was so fast. And then I literally was on my way home to head home for Christmas, and they call me and say, hey, we want you to fight in 6 weeks. Come back. So I'm like, I do a U-turn and come right back to Florida, and started getting ready to fight the krylov. So, it happened so fast, that I really didn't get to absorb it and understand it until I got outside of it, and I really thought back on it. I mean, it was a blessing, but I also think everything happens for a reason. There was a chance for me to taste it and know what I'm getting myself into and mentally prepare myself for it next time I get there.
Mm-hmm. Was that the main thing that went wrong, just the timing? Because like you said, it was all rapid fire for you. First you were in limbo, and then all of a sudden you have a fight, and then you get done with that fight, and then you're ready for a holiday, and then all of a sudden they offer you another fight. Was that like the main problem that you were having, was just the timing, or was there actually stuff going on?
I think it was. I think it had something to do with it, but I mean, at the same time, it's my job, and I didn't do a good enough job of being prepared before they called. That's just part of it. You got to always be ready. And I just was in a situation where I'm like, okay, I just trained for a fight for 3 months, and it like literally the week of the fight, they tell me he doesn't want to fight. So I was just drained, and I went home, I relaxed, I spent time with my family, and then they called, and I'm like, oh shoot, I got to get back ready. I think it had a little bit to do with time, and I think it's more about the pressure I put on myself and the mental mindset I went into the fights. I wasn't relaxed. I wasn't as calm as I normally am. I was, I just took it and put too much pressure on it. So.
Mm-hmm. Now, is it possible that it was too much too soon for you to be in the UFC? Because obviously you were kind of caught between a rock and a hard place, because on one hand, you can't really tell the UFC no. When Joe Silva calls, you got to say yes. And then on the other hand, you had no other options. Really, a main reason why the UFC brought you in is because no one on the regional circuit was lining up to fight you. No one wanted to fight you on the regional circuit, so you kind of had to be in the UFC. Now, looking back on it, was it a little bit too much too soon, or was it just one of those situations where you just had to take that opportunity when it presented itself?
It was kind of how the cards were dealt. Like I didn't have anybody to fight outside the UFC, so I guess the UFC felt like, okay, well, we got to give this kid a shot. If nobody wants to fight him, let's give him a chance. And I'm honored that they thought that I could come in there and do what I needed to do. But it is what it is. It's business. Like you have to go in, and regardless of the situation or what's going on, you got to go in and prepare, go in and go to war and put on a good show. So. My mindset now is to always be training. I'm in the stages of moving to South Florida so I can be here full time and train. Because that was another thing, being back and forth between Alabama and South Florida. My training was lacking in certain areas because I wasn't getting the like they say, iron sharpens iron, being around the best guys in the world every day. So it is what it is, man. I had to learn from it and grow from it, and I think I'm on the right path now. I'm back down here in Florida training, working toward my next fight, whenever that is, and, staying focused.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. One more thing about your UFC run, and then we'll move on to the present day, but the Jared Rosholt fight, was there octagon jitters and or ring rust going into that fight? Because you're in the UFC, you're in the big show now, there's a lot of pressure, and then also you were coming off that layoff where you hadn't been fighting very active, and you were out for a while. So was there any of that going into that fight?
I think there was a little bit of ring rust, but once the first round, once I got in there and got to the first round, I realized, okay, this is like riding a bike. It all comes back. But I think what ended up happening, the excitement of the moment and, the situations in the fight, the octagon jitters is not so much the actual octagon. I think it's the adrenaline dump that everybody talks about. Because you have so much building up to the moment, and then when it's happening and you have that dump, it's like it's crazy. The fatigue level, it's magnified a little bit. It seems just because you put so much thought into that one moment,
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what it was. It was just a combination of fatigue, ring rust, and just going out there and just fighting, just making it happen, trying to come out with a win. So.
Mm-hmm. After the Krylov fight, did you think you were in danger of being cut? Did you think you were on the chopping block?
Honestly, I didn't. I thought they would give me another shot. But I think the way the Owens St. Preux fight went with Nikita Krylov, I think that kind of dictated how they had to make the next move.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Because I honestly thought they were going to they signed me to a 4-fight deal, so I was like, okay, at least they're going to give me that third fight to prove, that this was a fluke, whatever. But it didn't work out that way. They told me what I needed to do to get back in there, so I'm doing it. Can't dwell on it. Got to keep pushing.
Now I'm just curious, who gave you the news that you'd been cut?
My manager actually called me and told me. He says they literally waited. To the last possible minute, and I think that they were trying to see how the Oven St. Preux Krylov fight went, before they made a determination on what they wanted to do. And honestly, it went by so long. I was like, well, okay, they're going to call me about another fight soon. And when he called, I was thinking that, okay, he's like, this is when you need to fight, this is when you're fighting. But he was like, well, they went ahead and terminated the contract. And I'm like, all right, cool. He was like, this is what they said you need to do. Go do it, and let's get back in there and do what you can do. So.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Now, how long after you get the news from your manager that you're no longer a part of the UFC do you start to look for a fight? Is it immediate? Because obviously you...
Immediately.
Yeah, okay.
Immediately. Because my thing is I hate losing. I don't deal with losing well, so I take my time to get my thoughts together, wrap my mind around the loss, and then I'm back at it. And I told my manager, man, as soon as you can find me a fight, let's make it happen. Just give me, a full training camp to get ready for it, so I can be 100% and do what I need to do. And because I actually had a little bit of a suspension after the Krylov fight, I had a mandatory 45-day suspension for, I didn't feel it was warranted, but that's how the rules work. So they kept me inactive for 45 days. on purpose. So I couldn't actually get right back in there and fight, and I couldn't train right away. So.
Oh, I see. Now, were you worried going back out on the regional circuit that you would still have those same problems early on in your career where no one really wanted to fight you? Did that come into your mind? Like, hey, I was brought into the UFC because no one wanted to fight me. Now I'm outside of it. And you got that UFC vet thing going, that adds a little bit more to, those guys. I don't really want to fight this kind of guy. Fought in the UFC. I don't really know if I'm right. You hear all those kind of stories. So
yeah, I definitely thought about that. I was worried, man. I honestly and I made sure my manager had my contract structured where they were in the contract. They said that they're going to keep me active, and if I'm not active, I have a choice to leave or do something else or find fight somewhere else. Because I told them, I said I can't go another year to 6 months without a fight. Even though it'll probably be good for me to skill-wise to get better and work on different things and parts of my game, I need to be fighting. I need to be in there, getting after it. So I made sure the contract was structured where they told me they were going to keep me active, and they kept their promise. That's why I was another reason I was really excited and happy the way the outcome of the fight was, because Titan looked out for me. Thanks to Jess Aronson and Lexi, man, they really took care of me. They looked out for me, and, I was glad that I got the win the way I did for them.
Mm-hmm. Now, how many fights do you have in your contract with Titan?
I have 5 fights with them, and with the UFC out.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Right. Now, the plan going forward, is it possibly a title fight? Because I remember Stephan Bonner, after that fight, he said, the camera didn't show you, but he said after the fight that you were calling for a title shot. Is that something that's possible for your next fight? Is that something that's in the works? Is that what you're hoping for?
Yeah, whatever Titan wants, man. I'm up for whatever, man. I'm here to put on good shows, good fights for the fans, and earn my keep. I wasn't necessarily at the time when I was saying the title thing. I was saying I'm coming for it. I want it.
Okay.
I'm not saying I wanted it right away, because that was my first fight in Titan. So, but if that's what they want to give me, if they feel like I deserve that, then I'm down to take it. But my main goal is to be successful wherever I am, and that's the win goal wherever it is. Titan, the UFC, wherever organization I'm in, I'm trying to be the best in that organization. So, that was the whole title thing. That's what that was about.
Mm-hmm. Now, is Dave Herman next? Obviously, he picked up a win over Caleb Starnes on the same card that you did. He's a fellow UFC vet. He fought there as well. It makes sense. You guys fought on the same card, so you're on that same timeline for another fight. I don't know when the next Titan show is, but it's got to be coming up here pretty soon. Is that the fight that makes sense? Is that a fight you're open to?
Yeah, I'm open to. Like I said, I'm open to fight anybody. If that's what Titan feels out, they want to, fans want to see, and that's what they want. Then that's what I'm here to do. So I'm not here to pick and choose fights. I mean, whoever they put in front of me, I'm over there for them. So whatever they see fit for me, I'm down for it.
Mm-hmm. Now, obviously, your long-term goal is to make it back to the UFC, but what's your short-term goal?
To be successful in Titan, man. To build Titan, to make them, look good, because they make me look good. They treat me well, so I want to put on good fights for them, and I want to be as successful in Titan, in my Titan run, as I can. I'm not looking past Titan and saying, UFC right away. I'm taking it a fight at a time, because, I think that's the way that's the way I perform better, when I focus on one thing at a time. If I start looking ahead, then you get sidetracked. So I'm focusing on Titan right now, being a heavyweight in Titan, and then whatever comes after that, God willing, I make it back to UFC, then that's what it is.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Now, obviously, in the fight, you suffered no damage. What are you doing up right now? What are you up to right now? What's going on in the life of Walt Harris?
Right now, I'm just back in South Florida. My family just left yesterday. So, I'm just getting back into training, I've been, in and out of the gym, but not in a consistent regimen. I'm starting my consistent regimen tomorrow, and then we're going from there, man. Just grinding every day. I'm in training camp with my best friend, Charles Rosa. He's got a fight the week after me, so every time I'm in training camp with him, it's always crazy, because he works so hard. He pushes me. He's a 155er, so I'm working like a 155er. So it always ends up, the product comes out good when that happens for me. So we're just down here putting it together, man. Working out the kinks, making sure I'm on point, working on all the things that I feel I'm weak at and I need to get better at, and that's what we're doing.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Now, the next Titan show, like I said earlier, I don't know when they have it scheduled, but that's the plan right now, to be on that next card, whenever it is?
Yeah, if they want me on that card, I'm trying to be on it.
Okay, sounds good.
Yes, sir.
Walt, real quick before I let you go, do you have any sponsors you'd like to thank, and is there anything you'd like to say to the fans?
Yeah, I want to thank all of my fans, everybody that supported me through the ups and the downs. I appreciate you guys. And you're going to see a better Walt Hernandez every fight. That's what my goal is. I do it for you guys. I thank you. I want to thank my management team, Guardian Sports, Charles McCarthy, Stephen Berkeley, Ed Cap, all my training partners, Champions Freestyle Fitness in Birmingham, and American Talk Team. I want to thank Gardner Life, Raw Fitness, Deliver Lean, Shiv Holdings, Dr. Holly Boshever. I mean, I can go on all day, man. There's so many people, good people around me. Newbie, Metaspa, everybody, man. Everybody that helps me get ready for fights and helps me stay focused. All my friends and family, I love you guys. Thank you.
Walt, thank you for taking the time to talk. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for calling me, man. I appreciate you having me on.